The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
The following is a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowerCat.com's PowerCat Insiders podcast, presented by Commerce Bank, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowerCat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
It's another edition of the PowerCat Insiders podcast, brought to you by Commerce Bank. We're sitting in downtown Manhattan in the start of what should be a beautiful week here in the Flint Hills. Basketball season's almost over. Spring football is nearing, and we've got both sports to talk about on this edition of our fine little show. Tim Fitzgerald, Matt Walters of the K-State Sports Network from Learfield IMG College, Kellis Robinette from the Wichita Eagle, and sitting in for the Catfish is Riley Gates of GPC.
Does this mean I get a salary increase to whatever Ryan is making at the Manhattan Mercury?
You are the talking game coordinator for this show.
Ah, yes. Okay, cool.
And you, my friend, are the sponsor read coordinator of the show.
Commerce Bank has the technology and the people to help with whatever financial challenges come your way. Commerce Bank challenge accepted.
I'll get you a title there, Kellis. I'll figure it out. A lot of weird stuff going on. Well, let's just start with basketball. No, you know what? Let's put basketball off the second half. Let's talk about this football stuff.
There you go.
Let's delay the inevitable.
Yeah.
And I want my fake $1 million.
I know. I offered Kellis Scottie Hazelton bucks, and I meant to print up Scottie Hazelton bucks with his face. But
He'd be pretty sweet to have on a $1 bill.
Oh,
that beard.
I know. He looks like a founding father.
Only a $1 bill?
But it sadly wouldn't get the whole
$1,000
thing.
bill.
Like,
It'd have to crop it off?
Yeah, headshots of $1 bills. I don't know if you could capture the full thing.
Or would the beard actually hang down below, and the bill would have to have a beard extension in the middle of the bottom?
It's like a series of bills. You can neck them.
Can have some weird-looking $1 bills.
We're going to talk about some serious stuff here. Would Scottie Hazelton get 1-point-something million without the beard? I say no. I'm not sure. Scottie Hazelton's off to Michigan State. You cannot blame him for going at that kind of salary. Basically double your pay. I'd take double my pay, and it's not even coming close to $1 million.
Even to live in Michigan?
I love Michigan, actually.
Really?
I got relatives just south of East Lansing. Yeah, the winter's a little rough, but the snow falls and stays in place. It doesn't blow across the plains like it does in Kansas. Good God. I think it's a really good move by him, but I'm just shocked. He literally sat in the studio next to us in the video studio for a power chat a couple weeks prior to this, and talked about how happy Brooke and him and the kids were here in town. But boy, when that kind of offer comes around, man, you can't. I mean,
yeah, you can't say.
Can't
say no. Hard to quibble with that. He'd made a lot of inroads here. I mean, not just coaching, but also on the recruiting front. So it stings a little bit, but hey, this has happened a million times over in the world of college football, and it sounds like Joe Klanderman's the guy. And his safeties did a good job. I don't think he's coordinated. Or he's not been at DC for a while, but
yeah, this is his second time.
Yeah, he's a talented guy, and to be honest, I doubt K-State will miss a beat.
Yeah, for me, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I with him and Van Malone, they were in good shape either way. Van's had experience there. Van is apparently going to get a new title. He's going to be assistant head coach and defensive passing game coordinator. Hopefully someone's in charge of stopping the run.
Well, that just harkens back to Coach Snyder. I mean, there were some funky titles for assistants.
And remember when they had 3 co-coordinators?
Yes. Yeah. And someone tweeted at me, and I go, "Hey, it's all about money. It's really, I mean, sure, if Kleiman's impeached, Van Malone will take over the office, I guess. I don't know what assistant head coach truly does. I guess he falls ill, and Van will step up.
Wasn't Sean Snyder like associate head coach, and he wasn't even technically on the staff for a while?
Yeah, he was an assistant AD and associate head coach. Well, how does this work? All for the money. By the way, your new title of talking game coordinator comes with no raise.
Oh, I don't want it then.
Just added responsibility.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of extra work.
It's crazy how much things had to happen to get Hazelton out of here. Because if D'Antonio doesn't retire after taking his money, it doesn't happen. If Michigan State just doesn't throw all that money at Mel Tucker, it doesn't happen. And if they don't have all this money to just throw at Hazelton, it doesn't happen. So it's kind of interesting because, yeah, like you said, I mean, he was in here 2 weeks ago, and his family did like it here. I think there was some hope that even though Michigan State offered him a lot, he'd take less to stay here. But, yeah, I think he might have already been the highest paid coordinator in Kansas State history. So to close the gap he was at $550 to close that gap all the way to $1 million plus. Too much to ask, I guess.
Well, I think people, a lot of people were upset, obviously. And then kind of blaming Gene Taylor, he should have paid him more, this and that. The thing of it is, you got to realize this stuff happens to every successful football team out there. Everybody goes through this, but K-State hasn't gone through it for the last, 10 years or whatever because of Coach Snyder being here. And his assistants just did not leave for other jobs.
They weren't getting offered.
Right. And so if you're going to continue to have a successful football program, this is going to happen almost year after year. You're going to see coaches get picked off like this.
And particularly at Kansas State. The budget is what it is. I mean, I know people want to be able to pay $1 million plus what the market bears, but Kansas State just isn't in that financial neighborhood.
And the budget's gone up.
And the budget's...
It's not like the budget stayed the same from 15 years ago, but it's not... there's not a $6 million pool for assistants.
I just was listening to Ask the AD, and it's up to $82 million in revenue or something. I mean, it's just incredible how much it's grown over the last 20 years since I've been doing this. And still, they can't compete with those numbers. I did find it interesting the Michigan State defensive coordinator position is endowed by a family. So Scottie's now the something family defensive coordinator, which I always think is odd, but it's a good way to tack on a couple extra $100,000 maybe into what they can pay.
The O-line coach there is making $700,000.
That's crazy.
Well, when this popped up, we started to look around, and I think we found out that Oklahoma's lowest paid coach was higher than the Kansas State coordinators. Yeah. Just living in a different neighborhood, and it is the reality that happens if Kansas State continues to have success. They will continue to lose some coaches, because this is one of the things Bill Snyder did very well for a period of time. And then, honestly, he got a little lazy with it, was identifying young coaches upcoming coaches and bringing them in, like a Brett Bielema, who wasn't initially with him and then brought him in and had a couple seasons and has gone on to good stuff. Eventually, he just settled in. I remember the press conference when he said, Matt, you were probably there years ago, there are a lot of very good unemployed football coaches. And that turned out to be older guys that settled in at Kansas State and really didn't have other options. Good coaches, maybe not dynamic recruiters, but it stabilized his staff. I don't think Bill Snyder had the same staff back-to-back seasons a single time in the 1.0 era. I think someone was poached every year. Maybe towards the end it stabilized, but it was just how he had to do business, and Kleiman's now facing it, and he will face it again. Loyalty and love for community only goes so far.
Well, there are always guys looking to take that next step up. So I know last week when this started to break, a couple of people asked me, well, is Matt Entz going to come down from North Dakota State?
No.
Nope, he's not.
No, he's 1 or 2 years away because of Chris Kleiman from being a head coach
at the D1 level. So
there's probably, 2 guys on the staff that probably will never leave K-State as long as Chris Kleiman's here. Probably Courtney Messingham. I don't really see him going and leaving Chris Kleiman. And then
even he, though, was somewhat rumored this offseason. I didn't buy it.
Where was that again?
There was a very short report that Texas was interested.
Okay.
That's right.
I don't necessarily buy that was.
That felt like an agent.
But still, he made it on the list of somebody else's.
I don't think he will leave. I think he's that tight end with Kleiman at this point. And then maybe is Tui too old to be moving a whole lot?
He'll move.
You think?
He'll get back into the Pac-12 eventually, I bet. But that's just the nature of the game. This will be something Hazelton basically did the math while I was interviewing him. Now going to Michigan State will be his 12th stop in 23 years of coaching. So more than every 2 years he's moving.
6 in the last 10.
I feel bad for that family.
Yeah.
That's got to be rough.
It's incredible.
6th job in 10 years.
Incredible.
But you could really say, you got to take it as a compliment if you're a head coach and other people are coming in and willing to, I would say, overpay for your coach.
Right.
Because Scottie Hazelton is good. I'm not trying to say he's not worth the money they're paying him, but
he didn't jump at $650. Yeah, it took an offer to get him out of here.
Yeah, and if somebody's going to come in and take one of your coordinators and pay him, I think last year there were only $24 million coordinators in the game. If somebody's going to come in and say, I want your guy and I'm going to pay him that much, then you just got to say, you know what, good job, and we'll try to get by without you. Yep.
I haven't had time to really get into it, but was there a connection? Mel Tucker to?
No,
I know.
I think so.
I couldn't find one.
I didn't know of one.
I think they just headhunted him.
I think
hunted him.
When you see a very or a team that lacks in a lot of 5-star talent, limit a conference of air raid to 21 points a game, it probably popped right up there.
And that third down defense, second only to Wisconsin, probably caught their attention too.
They wanted Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Yes, exactly. Good old
I don't know what
wrestling
that
reference.
Oh, you do? Okay. He wouldn't.
No.
I don't know if Kellis would.
That was...
Frankly, I didn't know that was English. I didn't understand a word of what you just said.
That was an old wrestling thing. You want to bring up anyone else while you're over there?
Not at the moment. Maybe later in the show.
Man.
Got the big showing last week.
Yeah, you did. You're on a roll here with
that
this.
one I got that reference.
I wonder...
I remembered him more when he was the Giant.
Yeah. I remember him when he was Paul White.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy Bob Davidson, he was at the Hutch News at the time, eventually followed me at the Sun-Journal, said, you got to go see this big guy at Wichita State. He's a complete player, except he doesn't have the bolts in his neck.
Right.
He was like Frankenstein out there with good feet. The guy was giant. Has Brent Venables set up a trend in college football where guys like Scottie Hazelton can really think about being set up for life and never being a head coach? This number he's getting paid, when did Snyder cross the $1 million line? It's not that far back in the scope of things. And now coordinators are getting paid. Brent Venables and others are getting paid multiple $1 million not to be a head coach. I just think it's an interesting trend because I wonder if Scottie Hazelton really wants to be a head coach, or if it's one of those things in the industry you just had to do to get the payday to get set up for life.
He doesn't strike me as a guy that wants to be a head coach. I don't get that vibe.
He strikes me as a guy that wants to be a DC in the NFL.
Right. I could see that.
That's where I think not that he couldn't go higher, but I think that's where he tops out.
Was it Albert Breer, I think? Somebody tweeted that his name was actually thrown around in the NFL circles this offseason. So you go to Michigan State, he might make another move next year. Who knows?
Do NFL coordinators get that kind of money?
Oh, yeah.
Man. Callis, what the hell were we thinking when we picked careers? What? Seriously?
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to write about sports.
I wanted to talk about it. My first job was below the poverty level.
I know.
They tell you when you get to college, you're not going to make very much money. And we're like, oh, okay. Oh.
Well, we're happy. And that's what really counts.
My first journalism job was $12.50 an hour, and I was happy to get it. So,
yeah.
I should have known right then. I couldn't go be a football coach.
I don't
think I would have made it in that business either, though.
Mid-teens.
Could you live in a dorm for 3-4 years as a GA making $12,000 though to get your foot in?
Oh yeah, I mean when you're that age, you suffer anything for your art. Back then, you
they
kind
of announced it.
Did they? Did. Right as we're live here on the podcast, we're not really live. We're
live on tape.
It is 1:27. In case anyone's wondering when it was announced, Kansas State has officially announced
Joe Klanderman, defensive coordinator, Van Malone, assistant head coach, and passing game coordinator. Yes.
Was he not already an assistant head coach?
I don't think so.
Nope, just assistant.
Just an assistant coach? An assistant to the head coach?
No one is coordinating the run game. So there we are.
Oh, man, that was funny.
He will continue to tutor the safeties. Klanderman. That tells us they're going to go out and find a linebacker coach. There was a question whether they move Klanderman into the linebacker position because that's more of a coordinator type spot. Although in current defenses, safeties are also pretty critical to tying the front to the back. So now they're going to go out and find a new linebacker coach, and I believe Ryan Walsh has put up a hot board of potential linebacker candidates at Go Power Cat. Intriguing. I like this. I like Klanderman a lot. I know some people are like it's very K-State just to promote from within, but this guy's got it going on, and so does Van Malone. I think, good heavens, I think that's a heck of a vibration there. I think Chris Kleiman did an incredible job hiring his first staff. Mm-hmm. I really do, and he will be poached off a little bit here, but he's got the makings of a staff that the core of it could be in place. Even if Courtney Messingham leaves, Connor Riley might be promoted up into a coordinator position. So,
well, think about how many different defensive coordinators the current players have had. They had Tom Hayes.
Oh, yeah.
They had Blake Seiler. Very shortly, Ted Monachino. Scottie Hazelton. And now, I mean, I understand the point, you could maybe bring in somebody with a bigger name or something. But if you do that, then you're bringing in a fifth defensive coordinator and 4 years.
Yeah, at least
change things up. I mean, I have faith in Klanderman. I like him. I thought, the defense last year was great against the pass, and that's what he coached. If you were going to criticize anything, it's the run game, and I guess because they don't have a running game coordinator, that's why they can't do it. But I mean, I think just to keep continuity and all that, I'm all for it. I think it's a good move.
Yeah, like Kellis said, the passing numbers were obviously really, really good last year, and one thing that, as time has gone on and we've talked to more players and recruits and things like that, it sounds like Joe Klanderman is a staple in the recruiting process for K-State right now, and he does a really good job out there on the recruiting trail. I think if you get him into the coordinator position like that, yeah, he has an excellent chance to really kind of thrive now that he has a bigger role in front of him. He just never really had a opportunity to be a coordinator so far, riding along at North Dakota State and then coming here. So, everybody that makes it big, everybody had their first big break somewhere. Maybe this is Joe Klanderman's. And, on February 27th or whatever, what defensive coordinator would you hire outside of your coaching tree right now, and that you honestly couldn't pay Scottie Hazelton anyways?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to probably dip down into the FCS ranks, someone with whom you're familiar, and go find someone, and then move on from there. But I think this was the safest thing to do, and it does intrigue me that maybe they left that run game coordinator spot open to pay someone at linebacker. So we'll see how that all develops. Just when we thought this offseason for Kansas State football was nice and calm, Nice and calm. No, it wasn't.
Gives us something to talk about other than basketball.
A few little boo-boos by players out on the party trail this weekend.
Celebrating that near victory against Kansas.
Well, 2 DUIs for linebackers. Apparently, they were not handling Scottie Hazelton's departure very well. This stuff happens, unfortunately.
And a failure to appear at 4 a.m. How about that?
Yeah, that's...
Look, this has been a problem I've had with how the RCPD does this.
Well, that was K-State police, actually.
Well, everyone does.
That was
this.
The funniest thing to me is that, okay, so 3 different players got stuck in it this weekend, and one got arrested by Kansas Highway Patrol, one by Riley County Police, and one by K-State Police. So they hit the trifecta right there.
It was very thorough work by the team.
I didn't want to give one group too much credit for getting them all. I had to space it out.
Couldn't you knock on the guy's door at 8 a.m. and say, hey, you failed to appear, let's go get this taken care of? No, you got to raid his house at 4 a.m. or whatever.
I do want to know how it went down. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I remember a basketball player having his door kicked in at 3 a.m. for a failure to appear. So
literally kicked in?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My God.
Years ago.
Yep.
Man.
A little aggressive.
Make sure you pay your parking tickets in this town. Dang.
Yeah, and we don't know what the failure to appear was, if it was parking or something else. But unfortunately, some young men made some bad decisions. But I think we all did at times. Maybe we didn't get arrested for it, but unfortunately that happens.
Well, and this is, people were asking on the boards like, oh, is this something we need to be concerned of because of this? And, there was the Hunter Rison incident, or, oh, does Kleiman have a discipline problem? A lot, like, these DUIs and things like that, that's kind of not necessarily I don't really see that as a message of your lacking of character. You made a mistake. You didn't get arrested for stealing or
right.
Something like that. So I know it's not necessarily right to outweigh one crime versus the other, but this isn't something that sets off alarm bells.
DUIs are something that are very serious, but you can also be 3 beers in and go over the limit and pay the same price. So we'll see how that all shakes out, but kind of a different weekend for K-State sports fans in terms of these type of things and unfortunate things. I'm not worried about this coaching staff, period, with football. I think they're going to be fine. He'll go out and find a good linebackers coach, someone probably dynamic on the recruiting trail.
Well, remember, he lost 2 coaches last year before he ever coached a game.
That's true.
And they were fine. So
they were fine.
I would certainly not panic.
Although I still am bewildered by the Ted Monachino hire. That was completely out of left field. And then he got Scottie Hazelton, who turned out to be okay. Pretty good.
Yeah, he was fine.
And then Buddy Wyatt also was hired to replace Blake, who, ironically, if he had not gone to West Virginia, might be defensive coordinator at Kansas State today.
Possibly.
And coaching linebackers.
Just never know what life's going to bring you. And I know this. We're going to bring you a break right now on the Insiders Podcast. We are going to gather ourselves and talk about basketball and try to be peppy about it because they played a competitive game.
Stay locked in. The PowerCat Podcast will be right back.
Picture this nightmare scenario. You're hosting friends for the big game. It's neck and neck in the fourth quarter, and suddenly you realize you're out of drinks. You start to sweat. Your friends start to turn on you. You're forced to go on a last-second drink run and end up missing the game-winning touchdown while in line. Terrifying, isn't it? Luckily, you can avoid the drama with Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits, then get them delivered right to your watch party. Compare prices across multiple stores in your area, find the best deals on game day drinks, and get back to armchair quarterbacking from, you guessed it, your armchair. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations. Picture this nightmare scenario. You're hosting friends for the big game. It's neck and neck in the fourth quarter, and suddenly you realize you're out of drinks. You start to sweat. Your friends start to turn on you. You're forced to go on a last-second drink run and end up missing the game-winning touchdown while in line. Terrifying, isn't it? Luckily, you can avoid the drama with Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits, then get them delivered right to your watch party. Compare prices across multiple stores in your area. Find the best deals on game day drinks and get back to armchair quarterbacking from, you guessed it, your armchair. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC gig-powered studios.
Welcome back to the PowerCat Insiders podcast, brought to you by Commerce Bank. We're sitting in the WTC gig-powered studios. We jet around the internet with our fiber from WTC. And as I mentioned, we're sponsored by Commerce.
Whatever financial challenges come your way, Commerce Bank can help. Commerce Bank challenge accepted.
Kansas State accepted the challenge from top-ranked Kansas on Saturday at Bramlage. Surprisingly competitive game. I kind of felt like KU slept-walk through it a little bit. Didn't shoot it particularly well. Well, K-State didn't shoot it particularly well. Nobody shot it particularly well. This was an ugly game, but that's how Kansas State needed to win. They've won pretty once this season, and that was against West Virginia, and that is the outlier. They were pretty dreadful shooting the ball the entire game. Although, I mean, that first half shooting 44% from the field is stunning. They were 6 of 12 three-pointers in the first half and 2 of 13 in the second half. You talk about coming back down to earth.
I was floored that both of those teams, when I checked the percentages at halftime, and I was like, KU shot 56%. It didn't feel like either team was shooting particularly well.
No. Well, why it didn't was there were so many turnovers in that first half. I believe KU had 12 in the first half, if I recall. The most stunning stat from the first half, guys, was K-State had 3 defensive rebounds. So basically either KU made the shot or they turned the ball over on every possession. 3 defensive rebounds, and you're down by 1. What did you think of the effort, Matt?
The effort was okay. K-State had its opportunities. Again, didn't hit shots down the stretch. Had a couple of critical turnovers. Yeah, I thought the effort was okay. They only got 3 points from the bench, which they had to get more than that. It's just KU did what KU does, and they weren't playing their best. They didn't have to play their best to come into Manhattan and get a win.
No. I was befuddled that Kansas State, Kels, went on such long scoring droughts and just kind of went down every possession. Looked the same. They didn't run anything. They didn't try to break out of it. They didn't backpick anything. They didn't do anything different other than stand around and look for a one-on-one play or maybe move the ball in a three-pointer, open up. It was just monotonous.
Well, that's been their problem all year. I mean, they recruited a team with no shooters, and now they're playing a game with no shooters. And I mean, really, the only reason the game was close in my mind, people talk about the effort and all this. I mean, the only reason I saw it was close because they hit 4 threes at the end of the first half. Right. Just out of nowhere. Boom, 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 boom. Went from being a double-digit game to really close. And then when that dried up, I mean, the score's tied with 8 minutes to go, and they go 5.5 minutes without scoring against your rival on your home court.
And still.
Sound like Bruce there.
I know.
Boom, boom, boom.
Listen to him a lot this year.
KU's defense was better in the second half, too.
KU's defense. This is as good a defensive team. Bill Self always plays good defense.
Did it strike you as weird that it seemed like K-State players kept trying to switch on to Marcus Garrett? That happened a lot.
I was
just befuddled. I would want nothing. I would want to get as far away from that guy as I could.
I know. They actually handled the ball better against Marcus Garrett than I thought they would. There was a couple matchups Marcus Garrett was covering Cardi, and I'm like, oh boy, he's going to just take the ball away from him.
I thought Cardi played a great game. He obviously had a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm playing there. McCall finally
Mac was great.
Looked like a college basketball player, so that's always good. But I think you don't really have to look much further than what Devon Dotson did every time he touched the ball, and that was blow by every player on the floor. He made K-State look like they just didn't even belong on his level. It was insane. That guy is so good at basketball. And there was nothing K-State could have done to stop him.
I was stunned at how fast he is in person. I mean, there was a play out. He was out kind of by the scorer's table and crossed half court, and then he was at the goal. I mean, he was coming right at me, and I'm like, holy smokes, that kid can move. And he gets himself through tight spots. He puts you in a position to foul. He moves his body midair and changes his point of where he's going to release the ball on you, and you just can't help but foul him. He's impressive.
He makes everybody around him a lot better.
Yeah, he does.
I thought Cartier played well till about the 6-minute mark.
If he hadn't committed that foul.
That was a stupid foul.
That was. It was a pretty blatant push off.
I mean, I don't disagree that a lot of people do it and a lot of people get away with it a lot of the times, but
it was right at midcourt in front of the official.
2 arms extended. I mean, you just can't get that, especially when you've got 3 already, and it's a crucial time. That killed him.
It really did. They ran out of gas without Montavious. They're essentially playing with 8 guys. I'm not real sure why they didn't put Pearson out there for just a little bit during the game to get someone some rest. They were shot by the end of the game. They just didn't have enough bodies.
You may look at this as a unique nugget. I did. I was asked on Saturday, did a little work for CBS again, to chart KU in terms of their passes per possession. 0 to 2, 3 to 5, 5+, and how many times they got a bucket. KU hit 18 shots in the ballgame, which, again, is mind-blowing. You would think they'd have 25 to 30. But anyway, 14 of their 18 made field goals came with 2 passes or less.
Attacking the rim, essentially.
Getting to the basket or in transition.
Oh, man. And that's really something I feel like this K-State team could do, and they don't do it. They are better in the open court than the half court, and they just don't do it.
Now the eye is on Azubuike to see how long it takes him to come back from the twisted ankle. KU got some help on Saturday with Baylor losing at TCU.
How about that?
I do wonder if that game would have been any different if he hadn't gone down like that. They were doing an okay job. Obviously, it was early. They were doing an okay job on him at that time, but he also had – I felt like he hadn't really ever settled into the game. I can't believe Bill Self put him back in.
I was stunned.
Yeah.
I don't – what's to gain? He got hurt again. Now, I know, again, it wasn't a serious injury either time, and, thankfully on KU's end, he only had a sprained ankle, but what if you put him back in there and he broke at that time? I mean, you're against the worst team in the conference – game you were going to win anyways. I don't get it. Maybe I'm crazy.
Were they going to win it without him? Because McCormick's foul prone.
I don't think they lose that game if he doesn't play again. He didn't do that much after he came back.
He had one hell of a dunk.
He's kind of a body.
It's so easy for him to dunk.
He's at the rim already.
I know. I thought it was strange K-State didn't go attack David McCormick right away. He's very foul prone. At that point, it didn't look like Doak would come back. I don't know why you didn't go after him, but they didn't. And KU gets out of there with a win. That's what good teams do. They find a way to make an extra play.
What y'all think of the crowd?
Yeah, let's talk about that. That was where I was going to go next. It was what I thought. I was a little stunned by the student crowd being that small, but I don't blame them either. It's not like this team has given them a lot to root for. It's a beautiful day in Manhattan, Kansas. They just did something else. I've never seen it like that for a KU game.
It's just what I was going to say. I've never seen it like that for a K-State KU matchup.
Yeah, I've been every year since Woolies last year, and it was never like that. No. Empty sections.
Well, it's weird because it seemed like the alumni areas were totally full. It's just that student area.
Yeah,
and that's why it gets back to, and people always think that we're roasting the students and criticizing them when we say this, but they need to have a smaller ticket allotment for the students until they prove we're going to come here, we're going to fill the place every single time, because all those GA seats that were open, I mean, I'm not saying they would have been purchased by a ton of fans, but they go out for fans to buy them instead, and then it's a little bit different instead of saving them for students. I've never looked at the student section, and except for like KU games in the last few years, and said, "Oh, well, the students deserve more seats." They just never fill it that much. They fill the main 2 sections, and that's it.
But I think 24. I don't know if it's just for this game in particular, but I think 24 and 25, the 2 sections that were wide open, I think those are for students for this game.
Right.
And I was, how much did it cost? Anybody?
I mean,
I don't know.
They oversell that student allotment just for this game, and knowing that it won't be full for other games, and
you just expect that it to fill in. And I think the pregame clock was down to about 8 minutes, and it was barren in the southeast corner. Just like, wow.
Again, I'm kind of like you. I don't really blame them. if I didn't really care that much about it and I was a student and I could do yard games all day on a beautiful day like that, sure. But also, I think it's pretty telling that that's how quickly they've quit, just 1 year removed from Big 12 championship.
I actually thought it was a pretty good crowd, all things considered. That's probably the saddest thing about everything. But it was shocking to look down and see an attendance of 9,000 for that game. And there were a lot of KU fans.
Yeah, I was going to say, there were some plays by KU that there was a pretty good roar in there for them. I'm like, wow, this hasn't happened in a long time where you have this kind of contingent from KU inside of Bramlage. I thought that was about, outside the West Virginia game, about as well as his team's played this year. And they still shot it poorly. They like you said, Kels, they didn't recruit shooters. What are we surprised at here? This is a team that they recruited, really offensively deficient and painful to watch. And I'm going to be blunt. I don't think Bruce Weber creates enough opportunities for his team to steal a point here and there. A team that doesn't hit free throws and he doesn't run set plays. He never does a 2-for-1 at the end of a half. He just doesn't create little windows of opportunity to put his team in a better position. But that's just me.
I think this week is really telling. Does Bruce still have their attention? Do the players are they still invested? Because you're facing two teams in Oklahoma State and Iowa State that you can beat. I'm not saying I'm expecting them to win, but they played Oklahoma State really close. They played with Iowa State a little bit. You got Tyrese Halliburton out now. I mean, it's not as good of a team. They're kind of struggling right now, too. You could potentially get 2 wins and close out this season. And it's 2 teams that are on your level. Can you come out and have the same fire? Because they clearly were up a little bit more because it was KU. Right. That's going to happen. But can you come out with the same intensity and try to get some wins here at the end so you don't go 2-16? Or are you just going to come out and not really care? I mean, the 10th seed's already locked up. You're already playing there. Nothing they do this week is going to change anything. But how will they answer that? That's what I'm interested to see.
These are the 8th and 9th place teams in the conference that they play this week. Oklahoma State on Wednesday night in Stillwater. Riley will be there. And then they come home and close out their season Saturday with Iowa State. They have now ascended to 5 wins apiece. It wasn't too long ago where these teams were kind of piled up at the bottom of the conference standings, and now K-State sits alone with 2 wins on the season. We'll see if K-State can muster something and put a better product out there and get a win. I personally think this team's probably going to fold it up and pick up 3 more losses and move on to the offseason. That's just me.
Different topic, if I may, quick. I think Devon Dotson's locked up Player of the Year in the conference. Who's your first 5? Who's your first team?
That's a good question.
Well, Dotson
and Doak.
Butler at Baylor. And it's kind of up for debate after that.
Yeah, without having the stats in front of me, I'm not sure. I mean, got a couple.
Nobody.
Doolittle.
I was going to say, going to put Doolittle on there.
I'd say Doolittle. Yeah.
Probably out of.
And then one other guy.
Lack of other guys. I think the conference is bad this year, guys. I think there's maybe. I think KU's good, but I don't think KU's as good as they appear to be because the conference is bad. I mean, I'm really.
The difference between 2nd and 3rd in the Big 12
is enormous.
I mean, how about Tech has fallen off the map? West Virginia's fallen off the map.
I think West Virginia might be playing worse than anybody in the whole league right now.
Oh my God!
I think K-State, if they
worse than K-State,
again, they might. I think that'd be a game.
I mean, if you got the performance,
they already beat them once.
If you got the performance you got against KU, sure. But if you got Baylor, K-State, ugh.
Yeah, West Virginia. Wow, they're now in the bottom half of the league. They're 7-9.
Hugs has to do something different, man. You got to figure out something else.
Well, that's the thing. Like you ask about top 5, I feel like all year people had Culver and Schwebe in that mix, but West Virginia's played so bad lately.
Yeah, I don't know
how you put either of those guys in there. Who's your 5th guy?
Will somebody from Texas sneak in?
It might be Jemias.
From Tech.
From Tech.
That's probably who I would say.
Jemias Ramsey.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
It might be 2 Baylor guys.
Yeah, Teague. You could put Teague on there too.
Teague and Butler, Dotson and
heck, this would be an appropriate year for all KU or Baylor. Just only players from those 2 teams.
I agree, and I don't see anyone even being an honorable mention from this K-State team.
Oh no.
No. Not even.
Guys, you go back to some of those really bad
They'll
teams.
give it to Snead or Jota.
If they give it to Xavier Sneed, somebody's got some answering to do.
Well, he probably would get for the Big 12 because don't they have 3 teams? Yeah, they go all the way to the third team. So he'll be yeah. He's one of the top 20 players in the conference. So I bet he'll get it. From the coaches, honorable mention from the AP. No,
we grazed over this, but Malween looked more invested in this game than he has all season long. He was talking trash. He was defending his butt off. He did a great job defending their big men. Only had 2 fouls, 5 and 9 from the field, 5 rebounds, not great, but and a -8 on the plus-minus. And come on, guys, without him, they would have been in huge trouble. So that just kind of, again...
But please keep referring to that.
Yeah. How deceptive that can be on a game-to-game basis.
What's happened to Sloan going the other way? Man.
Ugh. Yeah.
They don't seem to want to play him anymore.
It's kind of
turnovers are up.
Kind of old takes exposing me on that one.
Well, I wonder if he hasn't kind of hit a wall, too.
I think he's hit a wall.
Yep.
Mac was really good, though. And I thought it was interesting because when we had media before the game, I asked him if he was fired up to play Doak, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait to prove what I'm about here." And I'd never seen him speak enthusiastically about anything.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and plays like that. I mean, it just kind of goes to show you though that what he's capable of when he actually turns it on.
And that's what's so frustrating.
Yeah, how rarely we've seen
Guys, he caught the ball and threw a left-handed jump hook off the glass and in. And I'm like, you haven't shot that all season. You get that opportunity all the time because everyone's taking away your right hand. I just assumed he couldn't do it, and he just did it effortlessly. And I'm like, dude, that shot is open every time because people are taking away your right.
Of all the people on this team to get fired up to play KU every time, I would not have expected to be a junior college transfer, started at Utah, and somehow found his way here and has not played good at all. But he loves playing KU.
I think he just naturally likes playing big dudes.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I think he sees that as a challenge and rises to the occasion. I can't think of another reason to explain it, but he's always played pretty good against big guys. You put him up against a 6'6" guy who you'd think he'd dominate, and he just folds.
Feels like he's got a chip on his shoulder against guys like Doak.
Well, he could get him again in Kansas City if this team can go.
It would have to be in the championship game. My wife actually asked me that.
Oh,
today.
that's right.
She said,
right.
Yeah, she asked me, what are the odds that KU and K-State could play on Thursday?
I had the bracket wrong in my head, yeah.
Yeah, because they played
Because they'd be the 10 seed. Well, unless Baylor can jump KU, and KU would be the 2 seed.
So you need TCU to go into Allen Fieldhouse and do something stupid this week.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing, though, if K-State did make it to the Big 12 championship game and played KU again? I also joked about this today.
Yeah, sure. Let's call it amazing.
With one more loss, okay, here's quite the conundrum here. With one more loss, K-State will set the all-time school record for most losses and conference losses in a season, right? So very bad. But if they win their final 12 games, they finish with a winning record and win the national championship.
Oh, no, he meant 12.
He did.
Yes. They win their final 2 regular season games, all 4 in Kansas City, and all 6 in the NCAA tournament. They will finish 21-20.
If this team were somehow to win the Big 12 championship, I think they would still stick them in Dayton. So make it 13 games.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
actually, they can't be, I don't think.
They can't?
No, maybe they can be.
It would have to be as the 16 seed play-in.
Yeah.
I think they would jump that. They'd be like a...
The brain matter you wasted on that, you're never getting back.
But think about that.
No, I'm not.
It's mathematically possible.
Think about that.
They could both set the record for most losses in a season and win the whole thing.
I just want it on the record right now that I'm planning on driving home on Thursday morning after K-State plays in the Big 12 tournament, not staying until Saturday.
Are you going to pack clothes for the whole time, just in case?
I'm not going to pack for the championship, no. I'll pack for Thursday, and I'll pack for Friday. How about that? And then,
but not Wednesday?
Well, I'll be wearing my Wednesday clothes. Right. Come on now.
It'd be funny if you did it naked.
No.
I don't think.
No. I'm not going there.
No.
Do we have a media on Tuesday of that week? Never covered a Wednesday game before.
It's up to the programs if they want to have a media thing. There used to be an open practice, but now they've changed that because nobody went because it's the 4 worst teams.
My guess, you'd have to ask Tom, but my guess is they would not.
They would not.
They would not welcome that media.
No.
All right. one night in a hotel.
They've done it in the past, to try to get the word about him playing in Kansas City. But
if I'm going to pack from Friday, I might as well just pack for the whole thing.
Baseball opens at home.
Yeah, handled an inferior opponent. Yeah. That's what Pete Hughes' squad need. Get the offense some confidence, and they'll find out a little bit more about themselves. Stanford is down, but they always play a good non-conference schedule. But Fort Stanford this weekend will be interesting. K-State right now is top 20 in team ERA at 2.19. And not all of that is because of last weekend.
Jordan Wick's been real good.
I'm telling you, yeah, and he's been the number 3 starter. So K-State's...
Is there hope for the Bats?
Yeah.
They've just been inside a lot.
Yeah, I mean, as I asked Pete Hughes the other day, and I knew what his answer would be. I mean, like him, I've seen this a million times. You're not practicing outside every day. It takes the offense a little bit to kick it in gear.
With Wicks, are they starting him on
he's the
Sundays because he's the third best pitcher? Or I
don't know if I'd say he's the third best, but that's where they've got him slotted.
Okay.
So you'll see.
Is there a reason to that? I feel like most schools put their ace guy on Friday.
Not always.
No? Okay.
Nope, not always. Just depends on the coach. I mean, you have 2 guys in front of him that are throwing 92, 95. Wicks does not throw 92, 95.
So now after 2 games of seeing that, they come back with him.
Yeah. You go 2 righties and then a lefty, and he may have the best changeup in the Big 12. And he's worked on it, and he's also added another pitch.
They should put him in the middle, make it real.
Yeah, some do that. Some go righty, lefty, righty, or whatever. But, the offense will get there. They have to be a little more judicious with what they swing at, but so far, so good.
What's their record right now?
6-5.
Okay.
I, too, need to be more judicious with what I swing at.
In regards to what?
When was the last time you got the baseball
just
bat?
live.
Podcasting. Last time I threw a softball was, I don't know how many years ago.
2002.
It's more recent than that. Blew out a knee and never played again.
And with that,
we're done. We're not even going to talk about the women playing Baylor. I think just mentioning that is all we need to say.
Well, they've got 2 games this week they can win.
Right.
And should win. Oklahoma State and KU.
I think you gotta get a win. You've got to win those 2. You got to get a win in Kansas City.
Yep.
And hope that the bubble is nice to you.
Well, if they finish above 500 in the conference, it's going to be really hard to keep them out.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Why if they win both of those games, they're probably going to get in, and they'll probably be like a 10 seed, 11 seed.
It'll be low. Yeah, Charlie Cream didn't even have them like as a bubble team last I checked, and so that's what
RPI's just dragging them down, right?
Yeah.
That non-conference was just really bad. Worst case scenario, they host a games in Bramlage for the WNIT. They will be a top seed, so
not bad. Very good.
You gonna cover that?
I need something else right now. I ain't covering about postseason men's basketball, that's for sure.
Women's hoops and baseball to cover.
I'm going to go cover the Vegas 8.
Is that even a thing?
No. But I'm still going to go do it.
Right. It was supposed to be the Vegas 16.
You got to go to Vegas for quote-unquote work already.
Oh, boy, I worked hard. I worked harder there than I did on this podcast.
You've been listening to the PowerCat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank. PowerCat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.